Welcome once again to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, got a little switch up in this week's show topic. We're going to cover TNA and MLW's recent set of shows. Truncated it. They're good. Go watch. That being said, I feel a conversation has emerged on social media that I want to jump in on because I'm pretty smart.
No.
Yeah, like I'm not Albert Einstein smart, but like I know not to lick a light socket, so I feel like I can jump in on this conversation. If you're new, if you're new to wrestling, new to us, new to everything, let me start off by explaining what AEW is. It's a pro wrestling company, but let's start even further. What is pro wrestling? No, I'm not gonna go that far back. AEW, when it launched on the scene in, like, what was it, tail end of 2018, start of 2019, was the
Mm.
hottest thing in wrestling. And it should have been. They had Dean Ambrose jumping ship, becoming John Moxley. They had Chris Jericho when he still had a lot of fan support. They brought in Kenny Omega, arguably the greatest wrestler of his generation and the top guy not in WWE at the time. They had Cody Rhodes, who, while is kind of like a overly sentimental spin-off, not spin-off, what's the word I wanted to use? Copycat of like a Ted Lasso show,
Variant, Ted Lasso variant.
right? He still has a lot of credibility and a lot of notoriety, and fans really loved him because he represented everything that people wanted to see change in the WWE. They had a influx of talent that featured in New Japan and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, arguably the indies and more coveted areas of pro wrestlingdom. If you competed for one of those two and you were like a super duper indie nerd, you were likely to watch AEW because these were all the guys that you were watching once a month or whenever New Japan had a show. They brought in all sorts of major names like Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian. They brought in the Young Bucks. They brought in who else? I think Pentagon and Phoenix showed up to the first one. Brian Cage got signed not too long after. Like I think 2021 or 2022, they bought Ring of Honor. They were soaring high, and then they got Brian Danielson. They got Brody Lee. They got Adam Cole, and these were huge gets. Huge. But a combination of events have led to AEW losing some of its luster. This is not an anti AEW show. I am no fan of AEW, but I am no fan of the WWE. I find AEW to be monotonous. I find WWE to be boring. Both have potential to be better, but both have the creative direction of a blind man navigating a illustrated maze. It's one dimensional. You're just drawing. How's he gonna do it? I don't know. But that doesn't mean that AEW is forever going to be this way. Look at TNA. They turned things around. But how did we get here? How did the downfall happen? Well, to paraphrase Robin Williams, maybe even outright quote Robin Williams from the hit 1991 2 3 movie Aladdin, AEW took one too many hits from the snake. They were embroiled in controversy. Chris Jericho being chief among them. He's ruined all the reputation, goodwill, and standing he's had. He's become one of the most just unwanted wrestlers that the AEW fandom has. From performing at Sturgis during COVID to his wife's involvement or lack thereof, depending on how you want to view it, with the January 6th insurrection, from the way he handles booking issues, the accusations of Kylie Ray, I think it was having to sign an NDA due to Jericho's mistreatment, and now just him being bad in the ring, uninteresting to listen to. He's a major factor in this. Another major factor is that Um, excuse me. That one of the biggest issues they have is not talent acquisition. They get talents. I still think one of the best signings they've had is Adam Copeland, and his broken leg and being away from television has not helped the product. He is a genuine draw for them, and he can still go. But the problem is you can't draw audiences off of him when he's hurt. And that's a big issue. Not having the stars needed to facilitate the next era of AEW. They were pretty reliant on Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, to a lesser extent MJF. But a wild convergence of events happened. They got Sting. Sting retired. CM Punk got fired. Bryan Danielson is semi-retired and currently, I don't even think signed. I think he's a free agent technically. Samoa Joe's hurts. Cody Rhodes left to go back to the WWE. They had all these major moves happen that ended up hurting their brand reputation because when you lose stars like that, especially someone the size of CM Punk, while Punk wasn't bringing in 12,000 people every TV show, he was moving merch, he was moving ratings, he was a big addition to the roster, and you don't replace that easily. Like you just don't. I think the way they have structured their management has soured people because Punk's departure goes hand in hand with the fact that he had issues with the elite. And the elite not only ran the company in tandem with Tony Khan, but they also wrestled and booked and managed things. And when you see that, it becomes pretty obvious that maybe you shouldn't let the inmates run the asylum. They're all going to talk to a polka dotted dog named Heffy, and then they're going to get high and glue, which is exactly what happened. Literally, the tales of that happening. No, I'm being facetious. But this is a company that was the standard bearer for a good 3 years, and then plop, just fell off like a. This is gonna be an analogy that Marcus may never have experienced. AEW plopped like a piece of dirty snow came off the back of your bumper as the summer months warmed off. It's just gross. It's discolored. It's been through literal mud. It's just nasty to look at. That's kind of what's happening in AEW. The saving graces for them is that they can still draw pay-per-views because their pay-per-views are arguably better than anyone's in terms of match quality. Storylines, characters, there's a lot to deal with. But in terms of quality, I think the only stateside promotion is TNA that holds a candle to them. Certainly, New Japan doesn't. But we've gotten to the situation. Marcus, you've watched AEW off and on over the years. What do you think was the biggest factor in their decline? Is it stagnancy in their booking? Is it a lack of a vision? Is it the departure of major stars? Is it the lack of ability to create new stars or a lack of a desire to promote and keep new stars in the headlines? What do you think? And it doesn't have to be any of those. It could be one of your own.
I think it's a big gumbo pot of all those things, and the timing in which they happen. I think obviously, um, look, I think they absolutely did Sting a great service. That's how you send a legend out. I mean, that's how you book a legend from the minute he debuted, which was huge, to the his last match. I think they treated him like the legend and star that he was. Probably absolutely backed up the truck for him, money wise. Kind of let him do his own thing in a lot of ways, and he looked like he very much thrived and enjoyed. And got to have a very active role in everything that he did. But like you said, that's a big get. It's also a big loss, understandable loss, because we know Sting probably would have retired years ago. Uh, so that's that. I think the CM Punk thing was uh, very much a big loss that it feels like they're still reeling from in a lot of ways, just and how that was handled, and I don't necessarily know if they've learned fully in terms of how they deal with things, how they go about things stemming from that situation. I think they've had complaints about their women's division since they started. It's had its moments going back and forth. They certainly have the talent to have one of the best. but there's a lot of inconsistencies with that. You talk about getting big stars like Edge, Will Ospreay, numerous others. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, inconsistency with the booking. There as well, tag team division, the acquisition of Ring of Honor, but not really doing that uh, justice in a consistent way. I think Ring of Honor does have a lot of flash and flare about it for whatever final reason. It feels like the redheaded stepchild at times, even if that's not the intentionality behind what they do with it. Um, yeah, like I said, it can kind of go on, but I just feel like it's a combination of all the things that you mentioned at some very pivotal times when they needed those things that fell through to either elevate or stay consistent. They kind of bottomed out. And between how things have been handled behind the scenes, whether it's been a consistency in what's been said to be a lack of communication between talent, um, unnecessary outbursts by the head of said company, or like you said, just bad timing with injuries. A lot of these things have kind of converged, a lot, and they've done their best to pivot and make the best of kind of make chicken soup out of chicken shit, for lack of better phrasing. But I think a lot of things just kept happening. I don't know if they ever really recovered in the way that they needed to. And now because their quote unquote main competition is elevating hand over fist, it's really becoming apparent. Uh, like you said earlier, that word you used, the stagnation of it all.
That's part of the issue, isn't it? The stagnation. It's not quality. And that should be abundantly clear. This is not an issue about quality. It's an issue that stems from, I think, the biggest issue with WCW booking. If you're newer to the scene, when WCW was in its throes, there were two major criticisms at various points in time. One was that they never had an endgame for a storyline, and two was that Vince Russo was booking. That's it. That's the whole criticism. AEW has the first issue with booking. There's never a coherent through line for what they're doing. Christian Cage has been talking about dead dads for a year. What's the end game? Like, you would have thought that maybe Hook or any number of wrestlers would have been the one to finally end Christian's run as the head of the patriarchy, right? Maybe even Nick Wayne himself. That'd be a hell of a way to get Nick Wayne over, right? Yet we're still 10, 11 months in and nothing. The memes that came from it are no longer sustaining it. So what's to do next? Where do we go from here? I don't know. You look at MJF, the whole Devil Saga, which single-handedly caused some of the most groan-worthy moments, some of the stuff that prolonged the longest that fans didn't want to deal with, and all for a finish that ultimately didn't work, got flipped on its head, and is now being once again used to build up different characters. Now, that's not to say that there hasn't been great storytelling. Swerve versus Hangman has been phenomenal. One of the best feuds of the year, one of the best feuds in AEW's history. But is that enough? No. Because then you have things like when the Young Bucks attacked Tony Khan, there was nothing about that. Now, granted, a lot of this stems from the fact that injuries have played a big role. You know, Adam Cole breaking his foot, Kenny Omega having diverticulitis. These are big factors that caused huge storylines to peter out. But good booking, smart storytelling, would allow you to circumvent that issue and find a new way forward. Not every storyline that succeeds is something that's put in stone 16 months beforehand. One of the most iconic moments of the Attitude Era. Vince McMahon ripping off the hood. It's me, Austin. It was me all along. Then you got Jim Ross. Oh, son of a bitch! Like, it was hilarious. That wasn't the goal. Like, They were literally considering 5'11" Christopher Daniels. Talks of James Mitchell came up. Like, they didn't know who it was going to be for maybe a few weeks before the spot happened. When you think about that, when that realization kind of like stumbles onto you, that sometimes the best booking isn't fully detailed and perfectly planned cinema, like you hear these WWE just fetishists going on about. Sometimes the best stories come from moments of necessity brought on by a failure, be it injuries or what have you, of the idea that was set forth. If you can pivot and succeed off of an idea that comes up in the moment, that translates and transcribes what's happening in a completely new light, that's how you get to be good at booking. That's it. Here's kind of a throw out there that I think people need to understand. Think about Shibata, Kitsusori Shibata. I think I pronounced his first name wrong. One of the things he's most known for is his desire to be a real fighter. He was not a great mixed martial artist, but he kept trying. Boy, howdy. But it translated to his return from MMA to pro wrestling. He was never that big of a star. He had his moments, absolutely. But a modern parallel would probably be Xavier Woods. He had his fan base. But he wasn't this once in a lifetime talent that people just flocked to. Of the what was he part of? The Three Musketeers? He was the least impressive. He was the least charismatic. Maybe the most technically sound, but he wasn't a guy who you knew you could build a promotion around. So he wasn't. But he brains himself, nearly dies, and then he comes back to the most thunderous, surprise I've ever heard. And now people are dying, just dying to see this man wrestle again. He has a bigger fan base now than maybe he's ever had, and it's all because they pivoted. It's all because they pivoted into something different. They found an avenue, New Japan did, to get Shibata over in a way he never was before, and they took it. They made this, mid-card guy into something impressive, and I gotta say that, even though you don't want to see a guy like that get hurt, the fact that they found that next level for him is impressive. That being said, AEW can't do that for whatever reason. For whatever reason, they have an issue finding ways to pivot off of a bad circumstance. CM Punk gets fired, Cody Rhodes leaves, Brody Lee tragically dies. After Brody Lee died, you still promoted and booked the Dark Order for 2 or 3 years, but did nothing with them. I can't tell you one genuine moment the Dark Order had, aside from Brody Lee's ascension to the Exalted One, and when they got booed out of the arena for being nobodies when they debuted.
Yeah, probably outside of that tribute show that they did to him, which heavily featured the Dark Order, and then I think ultimately built up to that moment with his son. Nothing. They essentially had a quicker falling from grace than the Aces and Eights when they went from like 50 to like 6.
Yeah.
Dark Order did the same thing. One week they had a mob. The next week they barely had a table of 4 at Waffle House. So it's kind of it's what 3 people in it now: the masked dude, John Silver, and one more guy.
If
So yeah,
that.
like you said, yeah, they've really not done anything with them. So,
And think about it. The biggest name to come out of there, Alan Angels. And if he got fired tomorrow by TNA, I wouldn't even care because he's so bland. They had and heck, here's the thing. Originally, the Dark Order was Player Uno, or Evil Uno as he goes by now, and I think it was John Silver was Player
yeah, Long
Dos.
John Silver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were the Super Smash Brothers. They were a video game gimmick. That's great. This that they did, no. No, and they like that's an example though of the booking. They took this team that had a mild following in the darkest, deepest recesses of internet wrestling fandom, Shakara, and then they try to put them on national, like what was it, a pay-per-view at the end of a tag team title match, or on Dynamite, whatever it was. They try to throw this out there, and like everyone's like, "Who are you?" Who, and like for good reason, because these were not names, man. These were not guys that. Um, Everyone's texting me at the same time right now. It's fucking annoying. These were not guys that had the credibility and the notoriety to debut like that in that kind of spot. Like you would have to debut them slowly and like build them up over the years and get them to a place where you could have a conversation about eventually giving them the spot that they tried to get thrust into. That's bad booking. Like no other way to cut that. Like that was either Kenny Omega pushing it, that was Tony Khan pushing it. Somebody pushed it hard enough where people actually thought it was a good idea, but those people did not have a real pulse on the wants of their fandom, which is what we're seeing again right now. We're seeing that same issue play out again. One of the things that needs to change is how they perceive booking and how they perceive the talents they have, because they have neutered so many major names. You went and signed Brian Cage 3 or 4 years ago and has done what? A 6-man tag title run? The man was the Swolverine. He was headlining TNA's biggest shows. He had one of the best feuds of the year with Michael Elgin, who is not easy to feud with because he's a bit of a twat. Then you had him have this great feud with Sami Callihan. You had him have banger after banger after banger. And then he gets forgotten about in whatever wannabe Ring of Honor stable they threw him into. Now, he's not a great promo, and his limitations as a personality are there, but like Jesus Christ, if you can make Ultimate Warrior, who has less talent, less charisma, and a less impressive physique than Brian Cage, if you can make Ultimate Warrior into a goddamn superstar, anyone with a little bit of semblance of honesty and understanding of how a storyline and character growth works could make Brian Cage into somebody. First of all, you get rid of his fucking name because Brian Cage is a stupid fucking name. You give him something truly fantastic. You give him a gimmick, a look. You redesign him. You bring him in. I hate to say what I'm about to say, but sometimes Vince McMahon wasn't wrong. When you bring somebody into the promotion, sometimes they need to be changed. Look at Steve Austin. Stunning Steve Austin. Went from a Hollywood blonde to Stone Cold because they allowed him to change. They gave him a different idea, a different gimmick, a different look. AEW doesn't really do that, though. And that's sometimes to their benefit. Look at Orange Cassidy. Look at Darby Allin. But it's also sometimes to their detriment. I'm sorry, are we still pretending that Pac can draw? We're still pretending. We're all going to sit here and go, oh no, I watch wrestling for Pac. Do you? Are we really telling that lie again?
Somebody who obviously supports a lot of black talent. What the hell happened to the Book of Hobbs? Did he stop reading his own stuff?
Could he ever read in the first place? Was he like Denzel Washington in that one movie where you find out he's blind but somehow dodging bullets? That didn't make any fucking sense. Then again, neither does AEW's booking of their talents. So, like, yeah, that's fair. How does Hobbs go from working with Sting, an up-and-comer type like Hobbs, goes from working with one of the 10 greatest pro wrestlers globally in the history of the business, and you don't do anything with it? How do you not have a moment with Hobbs on
Be
par
surprised.
with Orange Cassidy's moment with Sting? They didn't even wrestle each other. They lightly kicked each other's knees and went through the motions of the chest bang that Sting does. And it did more for Orange Cassidy's career than any match did. And you can figure out something for Hobbs. And this isn't unlike the WWE and Triple H and his hesitation to book black wrestlers because that one time Booker T got over on him in 2003 and he still hasn't lived that down. This isn't a criticism of them booking black wrestlers specifically. Swerve
Yeah.
is a bigger deal in AEW than he ever would have been in WWE. He was a bigger deal this year in AEW than he ever could have been in MLW. They do book black talents well. Not always. There's fair criticism to go around. but I don't think their criticism would substantiate or would at least come from a place of racism. Tony Khan's not going, hey, you know who I don't want to book? Black people. Triple H might be saying that. I don't think Tony Khan's saying that. Because you look at Bobby
Yeah,
Lashley, look at Shelton Benjamin. Like,
yeah. Shelton Benjamin hasn't looked that good since what he was in New Japan.
honestly, I don't think he's looked that good. So his run in New Japan was fine, but he was like a tag team wrestler, wasn't he?
Gotcha.
I
Yeah,
don't
something
I
like
don't
that. You might
remember
have
a
had a
lot of
few.
Shelton's because this was
You might
before
have had it.
Well, yeah, but this is before New Japan had a lot of international shows that can be watched. You would have to tape trade or like find someone who uploaded it in Japanese.
Gotcha. Think you participated in some individual tournaments and stuff like that. But yeah, like, I mean, to your point that, it's not a racial criticism against
But
Tony Khan and company at all. It's just, what how we're just talking about certain talents that have big moments that don't get capitalized off of. Like the deterioration of Jericho's relevance from where it started when AEW first started to where it is now could be his own show. Maybe one day we will do that as one big show. But he, Hobbs squashed him in a match,
hmm
squashed him, and they didn't do anything with it.
think about Wardlow. Now,
Yeah,
what I want to say about
right.
Wardlow and I'm not going to move off this point. Wardlow is a better version of Mason Ryan.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I was finna say Timu Batista, but
Timu Batista. That doesn't mean that Wardlow couldn't have been interesting, right? Like you had the possibility of Wardlow being good, but he wasn't charismatic. He didn't have a great voice for promos. He was pretty monosyllabic in a lot of ways, like pretty one note. But still, so was Goldberg. Didn't do anything. The thing with AEW that comes down to with booking is its inability to view things from a long-term perspective while also failing to grasp the nuances of week-to-week booking and the idea of an endgame. They make their characters fall into the same backdrop that so many others do, thus nerfing them in a lot of ways. They've had issues getting actual characters who pop, who sell, who draw on TV for whatever reason. I know there's a grouping of fans, a contingent that do not like Danhausen. You're wrong, but I get it.
yeah,
Somehow you fumbled the most popular indie act since the Young Bucks. Danhausen, before he landed on Ring of Honor, got on to Conan O'Brien's podcast. And you fumbled him. When we talk about sometimes you need to change up a character when you get signed, not someone like Danhausen, not someone like Orange Cassidy, but sometimes people like Wardlow. Wardlow, he was a pro wrestler before he landed in AEW. That actually shocks people. They're like, oh, wait, they didn't just sign some guy and train him? No, he was an actual pro wrestler. Just wasn't a good one. But here's the thing, like AEW for a good chunk of their time has tried to do the WWE model and they've tried to dictate history. They honestly tried to sell us the idea that Darby Allin, Jack Perry, MJF, and Sammy Guevara were the four pillars of AEW. Whoever snorted coke and thought that, you're fucking high.
not Coach. They had to be on that jingle jangle.
Jingle Jangle, V. What else we got? What other fictional drugs can we come up with? Cat urine, like
Oh,
from South Park.
what the freak they say the vampire dies? What's the vampiric poison? Vervain or whatever.
Didn't never even watch
Um,
that. Wolfsbane, we can throw that one out there too.
yeah,
That's real,
yeah,
but fake. I was thinking of its effects on werewolves, and that's not real.
yeah. Whatever the curse of poison was from Van Helsing. Yeah, that.
Whatever Blizz, that's one. 90210, whatever that fake drug was. Those energy pills that what's her face
Yeah,
from Saved by the Bell took in that one episode.
yeah. You said Bliss. Yeah, I think about Bliss from Titans, whatever that drug was. They had Jason on.
There you go.
But
But like whatever fictitious drug that made you so high, you thought Sammy Guevara, MJF, and Jack fucking Perry were going to be the pillars of your company's success. You were so high off your ass, I would like to let you know that your house has been foreclosed on because you've been living in a hole somewhere in New Mexico. Because that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. One, Sammy Guevara was never going to be that guy. Two, Jack Perry, while he had some intrigue because he was Jack Perry's kid, or I'm sorry, Luke Perry's kid,
yeah,
never showed the charisma needed to be a star. Still doesn't. He has a baby face and a receding hairline. That is a terrible combination. That's the kind of combination you get. Like when your hairline is starting to regress, but you still look like a child. There's only one job for you: working at a 1 hour photo hut while you steal photos of the people who drop off their pictures. Like that's the only job you can get. Now, granted, they got it right on Darby. Darby's a star. Darby's a genuine star.
yeah,
He's got the look. He's got the charisma. He's got everything you need. He's got the cool factor. He skateboards with Tony Hawk. Go fuck yourself. No one's cooler in this company. But for some reason, and one that I am still boggled by, is this desire and persistent need to push MJF. I think that's been one of the biggest hindrances to the promotion because I've never seen him
same.
actually be a draw. His only gimmick his first year was that he insulted people in a way that maybe some people weren't really going to be happy with. His matches
Yeah,
were fine. He's not a bad worker, but he's not so great that you should justify putting him in the main event. And
yeah.
like his entire persona only works as a heel, but you tried to book him for half of his world title run as a face? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, it just works better as it just he's in that realm of like the Charlottes, the Ortons, and some others we could name. They just work as a heel. That's where he popped off at. That's where it works. Even like you said, if he's not this captivating 5-star guy, although we get told other things, um, that he just works better as a heel. He's a natural a-hole, has a punchable face. He's the guy who's in you want to see kicked. Uh, and to your point that just been a horse that they've hitched their wagon to for whatever final reason. Meanwhile, I think, like you said, Darby Allin's undeniable star. Somebody like Orange Cassidy just put in a level of work, particularly when he was at the international championship. That just you know can't be denied. But real quick as a pivot, because I don't know if he was gonna get to it, but you're talking about building and pushing things that have clear narratives that we can witness. And because I don't want to put this on this one individual person because I like her a lot. It's more so the mentality of how she was booked. Do you think that they are still suffering from a lot of the mentality that they had from the way they pushed Jade? And now that she's gone, do you think they still maintain some of those bad habits when it comes to the men?
Yeah, yeah, I really do. Part of the issue with Jade's booking was that she was never ready, and still isn't in the WWE. Maybe she's just not good. After 5 years, I think I can say that. Maybe Jade's just not good. Athletic, but for some reason hesitant. Her footwork never up to par. One of the best looks in wrestling history. One of the least impressive packages to go along with it as a talent. But yet they pushed her. They pushed her constantly. They pushed her persistently. Like, didn't she beat up Cody Rhodes on her debut?
Yeah, she uh, came out, talked smack, then smacked him. Then that will eventually lead into something with Brandy, which it never ends well. Um, but yeah, her first match was tagging with Shaq in I think a hardcore match.
Like, who does that? Like,
Yeah.
what kind of dumbass booking is that?
And and I should have known this, but I think it got out to her somewhere like she was. There's a whole the fallout. This got brought up around Tony Khan. I heard somebody talking about it with the Ricky Stark situation, where she had a decision to either stay with AEW, go to WWE, and like Tony basically was going to give her anything she wanted, but she wanted to go to WWE, obviously. And he was kind of that one kind of sticks in his craw because apparently she was only working 1 day a week,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me y'all got weirded out that she wasn't ready when y'all was only she had no training. I'm guessing the only lot of training that she was getting was at the show. Anything she was doing off screen, and y'all was only booking her 1 time a week. No wonder she got so much whiplash when she came to WWE with the travel. Jesus.
Yeah. So like not now. Granted, that was probably Tony Khan trying to be a good boss. I know
Yeah.
Cody went to bat for her, but when you see that, when you see that level of ass kissing to the talent, you know that
Mm.
there's fundamentally something wrong with how you book things because otherwise you wouldn't be telling the green as goose shit wrestler, hey, no, you only need to work 1 day a week. You're good. I would be like, Jade, you have a kid, don't you? Yeah. You're not going to see it again for the next 4 weeks. You're not even going to leave the gym. Like, we're going to hose you off in between practices. You're going to sleep on the ground. You're going to eat beans and rice. You're going to have a bucket to shit and piss in that you will also have to clean out at night. I will make you understand what you need to do in this ring. And all you need to do is everything I say perfectly. Now, I may not be the person that you would want to have training
Yeah.
rookies because, like, clearly I'm a little psychotic. But at the very least, you would say, Jade, I need you in the ring 3 days a week. If you can do 5, even better. I need you watching tape. I need you talking. I need you conversing. I need you to talk to people in this industry who have an idea what they're doing. I need you to figure out fundamentally how to be the best you in that ring as possible, and that means putting in the work. Not putting in the work. That's the results. Jade Cargill, the most overrated wrestler of 2024, because
Mm.
no one taught her when she started. These are just some of the issues. More issues. The over reliance on ex-WWE stars. Now, it's one thing to sign someone like a John Moxley, even to an extent the Mercedes Moné, but it's another thing to sign someone and overly rely on them, or sign someone who doesn't have the best reputation. When Mercedes Moné left the WWE, she was riding high, but and now maybe this was like intentional. Because we know that WWE plays dirty pool. We know they're not good people. Maybe they released and leaked some stories about Mercedes knowing that fans would get turned off and wouldn't want to see her. That is entirely possible. It's also possible that Mercedes Moné just doesn't have the personality needed to be in the spot she's in. She's an expensive talent that people don't want to see. That's not good. She's also the mid-card champion of your brand. Yet she gets featured like she's the starring character. Now, I don't know if they really want that TBS title to be seen as some type of like really prestigious title belt. But I'm going to tell you, the TNT and TBS titles, if I was in control of AEW, would be the first fucking things I would get rid of. I'd bury them in the same pits that all those ET games were buried in. And I'd fucking forget about them because they're fucking stupid. They're ugly. Their design sucks. They're you're the champion of a channel that won't exist in 10 years. Bra
Mm.
fucking O. What a terrible idea for a belt. The other major issue with AEW is talent perception. The way they book talent and the way it's perceived. I don't disagree with anyone who says that AEW fumbled Okada. I want to be
Mm.
very clear here. This is worse than what TNA did.
With
And
Okada?
yes. And here's why. When TNA had Okada, Okada was a young boy. He had zero name value. He was a rookie. Maybe not a genuine rookie, but he was a young wrestler sent to the U.S. on an excursion to learn. What he did in the ring was really immaterial because he was there to understand the business of wrestling. People like to overblow this. Oh my God, you had Okada. No, they had a Japanese youngster who didn't speak English, didn't wrestle the American style, and was only here as part of a business arrangement so that he could understand a little bit more of the nuances of international wrestling. Anyone who thinks that TNA was going to use Okada the way New Japan would end up using him for the next 13 years is high on Blizz and any other fictitious drugs we can think of in this conversation. That is an insincere argument, and you know it. Okada to TNA was Brett Favre to the Atlanta Falcons. He was never going to start there, so trading him made sense. Though what he would end up doing in Mississippi 20 odd years later is still a far more heinous incident. Okada's did not fail in TNA because he was never supposed to succeed in TNA. Okada's failure in AEW is far worse because yes, he is. Well, I don't even know what champion he is. They have so many goddamn belts that are all the same.
Continental.
He's Continental, not the International. They're different. For some reason, they're different. They are different, Marcus. He's the Continental Champion. He defeated Eddie Kingston, who won the Continental title from the tournament last year. Like that. Yeah, all right, cool. He didn't even win the fucking division. Like, he didn't win the goddamn Continental Classic. He just won the belt from the guy who did. Stupid. To quote Randy Orton, stupid, stupid, stupid.
And to your earlier point, yet another injury from a major guy.
Yeah. But also, what has he done? He flipped off the audience.
He uses the B word a lot too, Chad. That's new for him.
So does Maki Ito. Like that's her name, right? Maki Ito. I'm not being a dick.
Yeah.
Like that's her whole gimmick is she's Japanese, she doesn't speak English, and she's cute, and then she swears at you. She's a lot cuter than fucking Okada. I'll fucking tell you that much. So Okada swears, flips people off. He has bangers still. Like he's still good in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever aura he had coming over is fucking gone. Whatever chance you had to book him, fucking gone. Because here's the sad reality. If you have a guy who can't cut promos, and Okada can't cut promos in English, he can't. It's not a dismissal of his abilities. It's a fact. He is not fluent in English. If you can't have promos, you can't repackage them. If you can't repackage them, you can't salvage them. If you can't salvage them, you have a fucking wrestler who spent all of his goddamn time flipping people off. Now that's all he's known for in the States. Good fucking job. He could have came in like a goddamn mob boss. Dressed to the nines, never spoke. He'd whisper something into his interpreter's ears, and he would be a goddamn beast of a man. No, he's a lackey to the Young Bucks, who are lackeys to themselves. The Young Bucks are memes that have expired. They are spoiled poop. Whatever value they had in 2013 when they were selling out the 200-seat Reseda, California auditorium is gone.
Faded away.
Yeah. To quote Fabian Cortez from goddamn 1994 X-Men the Animated Series, what was it, fourth season, third season? They faded away into nothing. They are shells of themselves as personalities. They don't have the same aura. They don't have the same ambiance. They don't have the same fan support. They don't have the same love affair. They've been found out for being frauds in a lot of ways. There was a time when they were the best tag team in the world, to some, but even those people would say that they're boring. Their gimmicks suck. Their actual handling of the issues is part of the reason why the company's in the position they are. And the fact that they are still involved in this promotion when they have next to no marketability, next to no a genuine fan support, when they have become the other guys in their own promotion, that is a sign that maybe it's time to move on from them. It is okay to say to Matt and Nick, you can stay if you want, but you're going to be pulling the curtain on dark matches for Ring of Honor from here on out. Because we have exhausted you. You have the same what is it? Fan quota? What is it? Not IQ. It's a fan based index for how
Yeah,
the public perceives brands and products. The Q score, Q rating. That's what it is. A Q rating. They probably have the same Q rating as Papa John, the former owner of
yeah,
Papa John's. No one's asking to see him come back into the threshold. People are
that,
done with the Young Bucks, and
that's it.
the constant pushing of them is part of the reason why fans have walked away.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too. Because how much? Because like I said, maybe you have better insight on this. Like, how much do you think that played a part too? Because talk about the Young Bucks when this first all started, you have always held to this probably not gonna finish well because it's a bunch of friends that's gonna hire a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And then once that dynamic kind of fell through and it felt like Tony Khan came more hands on, how much do you think that ball never really got back in the right lineup as well? Like, because once Cody, like you said, defected, it felt like everything was just kind of going downhill from there.
So I think the idea of friends hiring friends is the catalyst for all of this because a lot of the changes AEW needs to make is getting away from that mantra. Cody Rhodes and anyone who did not believe him when he said this and thought this was a good idea should look at their fucking heads because they're morons. Cody Rhodes said, I believe in nepotism. I believe in hiring my friends. He said that. And he did that. And now part of the issue, why are people texting me, Jesus Christ? Shut up. And my phone fell. Anyone who thinks that hiring friends was a good idea, you're literally the issue with this. I don't know what to tell you. Because so many of the problems come from the fact that they are filled with guys who had their friends hired. What is Kyle O'Reilly doing in AEW? He, there was an idea with him and Bobby Fish when they were in Ring of Honor that they stood out a little bit. But they aren't the best workers as a tag team in any company they've ever been in. They aren't the best personalities in the same room that they've ever been in. Like, it's them and the janitor, and I'd rather listen to the janitor. But yet, Kyle O'Reilly's in AEW. Why? Why is Kyle O'Reilly in AEW? Can someone tell me that? Can someone tell me why Kyle O'Reilly has a job in AEW? What does he bring to the table that only Kyle O'Reilly can do? Because I don't see it. But he has a job because of his friends. Britt Baker had a job because of who she was dating. Adam Cole got a job because he was Adam Cole. He may be the size of a toothpick. Adam Cole may turn sideways and disappear from the line of sight. But when he was signed, he was a massive get. So, like, let's be fair about that. But, like, that's been a big issue with this company for years. Like, they keep hiring people who like other people. Hey, I like this guy. Hire him. Think about it. Like, the four people that honestly maybe have the most authenticity with their signings were CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, and Eddie Kingston. Why? Because with the exception of Danielson and Bryan, with the exception of Danielson and Punk, they all fucking hated each other. Kingston, Claudio hate Danielson. Danielson hates Claudio and Kingston. Kingston hates Claudio. Claudio hates Kingston. Claudio and Kingston both hate Punk. Punk hates Kingston and Claudio. There was no one backing each other on that one. Like, they were all like, no, no, fuck you. But most of these guys, yeah, they're friends with one another. I love Chuck Taylor. I adore him. If Swisher's listening, he's going to hate me. AEW never should have signed him. What did he offer? He was a great talker. They never utilized him. He was a funny comedic wrestler, and he never got to show that. Instead of booking a tag team with Colt Cabana and him, they instead did what everyone has been doing for years. When they just look at the indies, they just like, that worked there, so it'll work here. And they brought him and Trent Beretta in. And I'm like, why? Why not try something unique and different and new? Why not put Chuck Taylor with Colt Cabana, two comedy wrestlers? Boom, it'll work. and said he was the less impressive wrestler of Beretta and Taylor. And Beretta, again, one of those guys. I don't know why he has a job. He doesn't have a great look. He's not unique in the ring. He has no personality. He has no charisma. I confuse him with 20 other guys on the roster. I've never seen Trent Beretta and John Skyler in the same room before, and you can't tell me with any sure fact that they're not one and the same. Just like my belief that Tony Montana was always Manu from Bloodline, or the original Bloodline. That was it, Legacy. So the issues for AEW run far and wide. But Marcus, how do we fix it? Well, getting rid of Brandy Rhodes was a great one. It happened 2.5 years ago, maybe longer, but it was
Really good.
overdue.
Really good. Yeah.
I love Brandy. When I was a single man, I wished she was a single woman. I'm not a single man anymore, and she's not a single woman. But this is not a dismissal of her as an attractive individual. It's a dismissal of the fact that all of her ideas sucked. So, how do we fix this? We came up with a list. We came up with a real good list. A list that we spent a lot of time on. We slaved over this for whole minutes.
Weeks.
Whole minutes. Maybe even like a good 64 seconds. But here's the thing. These ideas were a little cobbled together because, again, we had a different show kind of pitch for tonight, right? But I still think these are the 10 biggest issues that they face. And this is in no particular order, so we're just going to start from the beginning. One, first and foremost, the title scene. It's not that they have too many. It's that the ones they have don't mean anything. They have bad mid-card belts. The TBS and TNT titles do not make stars. Even though Mercedes Moné is a major name in the brand, and someone like Daniel Garcia has all the charisma needed. He needs a gimmick though. Just doing the ab dance isn't enough. He needs to change his name a little bit. Like Marcus Bagwell, I think is the perfect 1-to-1 comparison for what I want to see from Garcia. Marcus Bagwell was a solid hand, not great, but he was smooth. He was athletic. He looked good. But then he turned heel, became Buff Bagwell, and he became a little bit of a star. Now, Garcia's a far better wrestler than he was. Bagwell had a better look than Garcia does. Garcia needs a good moniker. He needs a good nickname, a good gimmick. He doesn't have it. He needs it. But, like, you look at those belts, they don't make champions with those belts. Cody Rhodes held the TNT title, and it's still a title that I forget exists. You know, think about the international champion. What that wasn't even its original name. What was its original name? Do you remember?
It was the it was the co intercontinental something title, and then they just turned it into the international. But when it comes to TNT, I look at that now as like the mood ring title of the company. While you look that up, because
It
that
was
to
the
me that
All
championship,
Atlantic Championship.
yeah, there it is, there it is, and then they changed it to international. But to me, the TNT title is the mood ring title, the thing that title has had more. It's like the Jordan of titles for the company. It had too many damn colorways.
Yeah, and the problem
Ain't that
is like
serious?
they've
Yeah.
they've they've not done great with it. They've shuffled it around. They've
It's doing a comparison like, okay, like I said, the TNT is the move ring title, and then the international will be the workers title. The TBS is like the show me title for like the person we're gonna see a lot, like a Mercedes or a Jade. And then the AEW Women's is the workman's title that they put on Tony Storm.
mm-hmm.
And that's how those titles compare against those other two. But again, like you said, a lot of that is though that was kind of like ass kissing for the station that they were on type of deal, which was weird when Jade had it because she never defended that title on TBS. They always put on Rampage,
Mm-hmm.
but now they got Mercedes showing up every week. So that's more so about the champion more so than the title. But uh, as you were.
The quality in champion is bottomed out with Kaneshke Takeshita. He's a great worker. But Marcus, the entire roster are literally great workers. Like you may have a handful of unimpressive talents. The problem is nobody's paying money to see Kaneshke Takeshita. No one's paying money to see Don Callis. No one's paying money to see the Don Callis family. Kyle Fletcher has potential, but to put him in a feud with Will Ospreay, who should not be in anything that isn't the world title scene right now. Like, how the fuck did Will Ospreay sign with this company? With the fact that he was New Japan's top star, he was being hounded by every major company in the world to sign with them. And he picks AEW, and we're like, oh my God, what a signing. And then he's struggling against Kaneshke Takeshita in his first match. Okay. That's auspicious, ironically. He loses to MJF on Dynamite. Granted, it was a special Dynamite. It was the Dynamite 250. After only holding this belt, that's not even that prestigious to begin with, for 52 days. Like, he beat Roderick Strong. Like, who the fuck cares about Roderick Strong? Roderick Strong's goddamn 41 years old and has the personality of Roderick Strong. Why is he on television? His wife is more relevant than he is right now. And she sucks too. Now, granted, Roderick Strong doesn't suck as an in-ring performer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Roderick Strong sucks as a pro wrestler. Between the ropes, he's good. He's great. Shit, so is everyone on this roster. What does Roderick Strong bring to the table? What is Roderick Strong going to do that makes me want to tune in? Oh, he had a neck injury. He's a cutie. You know, like, oh, my neck. Oh, my neck. And I was like, oh, I don't care.
It, Damn, it almost feels like we're coming up, because this is supposed to be the solve portion of the show, but it feels like as we're going through things to solve and coming up with more problems. Maybe that's another issue, and maybe
Oh,
you
no.
allude to this. You talk about firing. The minute you name one name, you name another, and it's like with all the names that they got on the roster, maybe that's another issue, because you'll name somebody like I don't know, Joe Schmo, and just be like, okay, Ricochet does all that.
But better.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the issue. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. You need to realize that pro wrestling is not a fucking sport. It is entertainment. It is entertainment in the sense that if you do not draw, if you do not entertain, if you do not make memories, you will not make money. And if you don't make money, you're not making sense. Because you're just going to go out of business. I don't give a shit if you don't like Taylor Swift at home. I don't give a shit if you think her songs suck.
She sells out.
Yeah, she does. She has found a way to tap into a clientele that love, support, adore, and just die for her. She could release her yodeling, and it would sell out. It would be number one on iTunes and Spotify for fucking 3 weeks. Beyonce would do a yodeling album afterwards to try to be like, I see you, sister, and I want to be part of this. Metallica would release a cover song of her yodeling. There'd be 37 punk bands who think they're going to be the first person ever to do a Taylor Swift cover album. Stop doing that, by the way, punk bands. You are not the first person to do it, and I've had enough. Do a cover song of Rick Astley or somebody else, for fuck's sakes. Anyway. So I don't give a shit how good you are in the middle of that ring. Because I'm telling you, the same barometer in which we measure today's wrestlers should not be the same barometer that we were judging them in 1997. He's good in the ring. They're all good in the ring. Unless they are on Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson's level, John Gresham's level, the words, he's a good worker, should not be part of the reason why you signed him. He's a bad worker should be part of the reasons why you don't sign him. Because it is far easier to be a good wrestler in today's day and age than it's ever been. The blueprint is simple. The execution is logical. You can do it. Just don't botch. On the flip side of the thing that sells personality is character, charisma. Those are the things that should be focused on. If you don't have a character, charisma, or personality, you're fucked. Roderick Strong has never had that. Roderick Strong has never been that guy. He's never been a headliner in any authentic way. He was a Ring of Honor world champion only because Ring of Honor didn't have any other fucking world champions. I love Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards has the personality of a baked potato. And Roderick Strong is still less impressive than Eddie Edwards' boiled potato personality. Roderick Strong's personality is so lacking that I don't have a finish to the joke.
Yeah, like you said, his wife's more over to him now, and she doesn't talk.
She also doesn't wrestle. She also is not good at wrestling. She's also only in this company because of who she's married to. Anyone could have been Marina Sheriff. Anyone.
Yeah.
You could have had anyone in that role. Like, here, like, hey, you know how we joke about, CM Punk sucks at mixed martial arts? Marina Sheriff is 1-2. And she hasn't fought in a decade. Why does anyone believe that this woman is a badass that can be tossing around people the size of Brian Cage? I'm sorry, jiu-jitsu's not that cool. It's not a good gimmick. Sorry, she's a judokan. She's a judo player, as they say. Still, I don't believe that 150 pounds Marina Sheriff can body a 300-pound dude. I don't buy it. Strength and leverage and gravity eventually play a portion in this conversation. But that's the issue with AEW. They have so many bland, uninteresting 1999 coded style wrestlers that they're bogged down. And they're being pushed. And they're being placed with belts. And those belts are being devalued. Because who the fuck cares about Kensuke Takeshita? If you say one more time he's had a good match, I don't care. Have a good segment. Have a good promo. Entertain me. Tantillate me. Cut a promo that makes my skin bubble. I want to feel goose pimples. I want to feel alive. I'm the Stinger and I'm not done yet. I want hard fucking times. I want Austin 316. Instead I get Don Callis having lost a job in TNA because of alleged allegations against Scarlett Bordeaux. From Scarlett Bordeaux, not against. Excuse me. Alleged. Always alleged.
Yeah, I like this kid, but they got Ricochet cut promos.
Yeah, and he's calling pro wrestling anime. You know, there's this thing I like to follow. It's called English. Wrestling is an anime. It's wrestling. Anime is anime. You know what anime is not? A sport. It's not a live action stage play. It's not music. It's not pizza. We can't just make things up. You can't say this piece of plastic's nuclear fallout. It's not. You can't pick up a rock and go, this is water. It's not. Your comparisons suck. Stop talking. Haven't we figured this out from his time in Lucha Underground? He can't fucking cut a promo. Marcus, I could give that man a pair of scissors, a machete, a Japanese samurai sword, and children's scissors. And he still couldn't cut shit.
The man was mum's the word. He was must see.
Yeah. The less he talks, the more I want to see him. The more he talks, the less I want to see him. He's bad at that. He's bad. But titles. Get rid of some of them. Get rid of the TNA. Get rid of the TBS. Get rid of the International. Get rid of the Continental. You should have the World title. You should have a mid-card title. You should have a Workers title. And if you want to do the same thing with the women, that's fine. The issue with the women and the way they do the titles is Maria May is the women's world champion, yet she's booked like the mid Carter title. Mercedes Moné has the mid Carter title, yet she's booked like she's the headliner of the division. That's fine if that's what you want to do, but then switch it. I'm fine with the 6-man tags. I'm fine with the tag team titles. I wouldn't mind them having 3 sets of tag titles by bringing in a women's tag team title. I think a women's tag team title would make more sense than the TBS title, but that's just me. But I think if you shift around, maybe bring in a cruiserweight title, I think you could actually do something worth watching. But yeah, that's the titles. Second thing, and this is gonna piss a lot of people off. The announcers, fire fucking all of them.
It's a
I think
four-man booth.
maybe keep Nigel.
Mm.
Honestly, Alex Marvez is bad. Alicia Toot. I mean, how is she still getting work?
Do you keep the legend as a main event pay per view alternate?
No,
Jr.
no.
Mm.
I'd fire Jr. first.
Mm.
This is not a conversation on legacy or importance to the industry. Jim Ross can't call matches anymore. He's slow. He stumbles. He's not as acutely aware. Auditorily, he cannot speak as clearly. This is a conversation about productivity. If you have a quarterback who can't throw touchdowns and just throws interceptions, are you going to keep starting him? No. If you have an announcer who can't call promos or can't call matches, can't introduce, can't lead, are you going to keep him? No. He's 70. He might be older than that. He might be 73.
Mm.
Let me double check. Jim Ross, how old are you? Jim Ross, you are 72 years old. It is time to retire. You are done. There isn't a coming back for Jim Ross. He is done.
Who's
As
your
sad as
other?
it may
Who's
be to
your
hear.
other? Yeah, who's your other pick? And do you go from? Cause, Jesus, they got a four-man booth now. Um,
Brother, let me be very clear. I'm not being facetious when I say fire everyone.
no, no, no. I get that. You say you might keep Nigel.
I might keep
But
Nigel. That's it.
my question is, do you go from what do you cut the number down to, and who's your pick as a quick substitute?
Well, let's see. I'm looking at the broadcast team now. We have Marvez Toot. We have Olivero Rios. Ariel Levy. I don't know if he's an international broadcaster. Arcada Ora. Jim Ross, Ian Riccaboni, Excalibur, Carlos Cabrera, Bobby Cruz, Justin Roberts, Lexi Nair, Nigel McGuinness, Renee Paquette, Taz, and Tony Schiavone. I would literally cut every single one of them but Nigel. None of them offer anything. Ian Riccaboni might be a decent guy, right? He might be a decent guy. He is one of the least magnetizing voices in the industry. Most of these names, I have no fucking clue who they are. Like, I know who Bobby Cruz is. He's the ring announcer for Ring of Honor. Maybe you can keep Bobby Cruz because, like, it's not like they have any stars in the brand that actually will draw in old heads who watched Ring of Honor in 2007. Maybe Bobby Cruz can. I'd fired Justin Roberts yesterday. I'd fire Lexi Nair yesterday. Maybe I would give Tony Schiavone a send off, but like, do you know how old Tony Schiavone is?
Schiavone, is he in his 60s?
He's 67. He's
Mm.
5 years younger than Jim Ross. It's time for Tony Schiavone to say toodaloo.
Yeah, so we'll treat them like a wrestling dual pack. Okay.
Yeah, I would. What does Renee Paquette do?
She's the backstage interviewer.
You're paying how much money for that? Buy. You know who I'd fire last of all? I'd fire Excalibur last of all, and the reason why is very simple. He's the fucking worst, and I want to make sure that whatever energy I have left, I can put onto him. Because I'm not just gonna fire him. I'm gonna tell him why I'm firing him, and that would be its own 7-part podcast. Your mask is stupid. You're tainted from your PWG era. You were never that good of a wrestler anyway. If it wasn't for Cody Rhodes, you wouldn't have a fucking job. Like Jesus, goddamn Christ.
That's that's like us all these years later finding out that they cut a bunch of the scene down when Willie told Charlie to get out, and they cut it. Oh man,
Would
well,
you keep any
Excalibur
of them?
like, oh no, like you said, it's time for JR because JR's so slow now that it either gets pedantic because he either gets ornery about just how he views things, isn't as fast as what the other announcers are saying, so it feels like they slowed down so he can acknowledge that he caught what they were saying, or he just gets drowned out by the other people on the commentary. So it is time for him to go. But like you said, give him a good send off. Skia Vaughn might be better served just doing anything else. Like I said, I'd probably go get some popcorn to see you fight Excalibur. And I'm trying to see, do they just have Daddy Magic doing commentary
Oh,
for his
that's
boys
another
matches?
fucking dude. Why is 3.0 on this roster? Like, just as a
Well,
general aside, like, what the fuck? Who thought they were gonna be cool?
yeah, yeah, he
Tony
feels
fucking
like
Nese is still here?
yeah, he feels like Danny Garcia's handler or something. Yeah, Tony needs to. He's in a faction with your boy the Goods Woods, right? Yeah,
Oh yeah, he is,
that
isn't he?
that was supposed to be a thing.
Ortiz still has a job. Like Jesus fucking Christ. Do a bloodletting,
Yeah,
man. Like some of these guys just need to go.
yeah, you,
Matt
yeah.
Menard still has a job in 2024.
That's
Holy
that's
fucking Christ.
that. I'm getting two buckets of popcorn. One exclusively for the Excalibur firing with you, and then also just sitting in the room when you're going down the roster. Like, holy hell, he's still alive. Done, done, done. You shouldn't legally be able to be allowed in pro wrestling. Done. Um, but yeah, except Nigel, yeah. How where's Taz with you? I mean, they obviously he's going too, but like, how bad is he in terms of how
Taz is
many degrees
getting
off from
here,
Excalibur?
here. Taz is getting the Mr. Burns trapdoor treatment.
Hilarious.
He's just gonna disappear one day, and everyone's gonna be like, "Where'd he go?" And I'm gonna be like, "Don't worry
We're gonna
about
be
it."
walking down, just gonna be walking down the hall. You hear Chad scream, "Say goodbye to your son, huh? Don't trapdoor." Uh, there's that.
I'd
So
fire
yeah,
Buddy Murphy tomorrow. I'd fire him by FedEx. I would fire Buddy Murphy through Telex. I would fire Buddy Murphy from whatever the original telegraph service was before Western Union.
yeah. I'd phrase that we had a mutual parting because I'm more scared of his wife than him. But yeah,
I don't know why you're
yeah,
scared of him. He's gassed up to gills and he has the personality of a dead fish.
yeah. The
And he's
personality thing.
named Buddy.
Not even. Is that his real name, by the way? The first name, Buddy.
No. No one's
Okay.
first name is really named Buddy.
uh,
All
well,
right.
yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
so. So we keeping
we're,
Nigel.
we're keeping
We
Nigel. We're
get
firing everyone else.
everyone else, Renee, all them.
Yeah, every single one.
Um, you, you taking it to a two-man booth or a three-man booth?
It depends. Like, I would hire a genuine play-by-play guy, either someone from the indies. There's a lot of guys that have some talent, or I would go outside, get Mauro Ronaldo, bring in Matt Stryker, go find somebody who. What was the one guy that they brought in from ESPN when TNA did Slammiversary? He's a Hispanic baseball broadcaster.
Oh, freaking yeah, because he's on there now. What the freak is his name? Testatori,
No,
the guy that's
not
on there now.
him. No, he was like a Sports Center broadcaster. You need to bring in former ESPN broadcaster. Not Todd Grisham. Why the fuck would I want Todd Grisham? Maybe I'll just look up Slammiversary. What year is it? Slammiversary 2017.
Is your boy Striker currently commentating right now?
Not that I'm aware of. Let's see. Robert Flores. There it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Real quick thing. If you couldn't get any of those guys for whatever reason, why they got dates or whatever, is there anybody that you would pull off injury reserve to fill those spots momentarily? Like a Edge or let's say a Kingston.
No, because the issue isn't play by. It's not color commentary. It's play by play. Like
Gotcha.
if you lose Nigel, sure, go get Edge, go get Samoa Joe, go get one of those guys that could work. Maybe even Sting. Like that'd be. I don't know if that'd be good, but it would be interesting. But like you got a lot of options, and I think you could figure something out color commentary wise.
Yeah.
But we're looking at play by play announcers, and they don't have a lot of good ones. They don't have any good ones, to be honest. All right. So reshape the entire roster, not roster, commentary table. This one's going to be a little bit odd, but the logo and color scheme, it's not that it's been bad. It's that it's passe now. Like we've gotten to a point where it's not some iconic logo that you can go, well, we don't ever have to change it. It's a brand. No, you need to change it. The name was never good to begin with, but you need to now update the logo. You need to update the logo. You need to update the colors. It needs to be something flashy. It needs to be something that's smart. It needs to be something that captivates the audience. It's not a big change, but it will matter. Like, look at what TNA did. It matters, and it can help.
Okay.
Now, a
So
bad
a
one can
little yeah.
hurt, but a good one can
Yeah.
help.
Do you change the? Because I guess their tagline now is "Where the best wrestle."
They're fucking stupid for that tagline. Where the best wrestle? You know what's better than best? The elite. Where the elite wrestle. What cokehead moron took 8 bumps and go, no, we need to call ourselves the best because best is better than elite. No, it's not. The best athletes are in the NFL. The elite of the NFL are the stars. Same thing with wrestling. That's a stupid fucking tagline. Home of the elite. Elite born and bred. Where the elite aspire to be. Holy shit, I just came up with 4 new ones that make so much better sense. We're the best wrestler. I'm pretty sure WCW used that. I'm pretty sure TNA had an off-brand version of that. Pretty sure even WWE has done a Timu version. We're the
Mm-hmm.
best wrestler. Whoever came up with that, present your rare. I'm gonna kick your ass. Literally, that's stupid
Well,
fucking
I don't
thing.
know who came up with it, but Ed said it first on TV, and considering the fact that that whole tagline was in response to a CM Punk interview, what do you expect?
Oh, and that's another thing. Do the Ted Lasso of it all. Thank him, wish him well, move on. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Number 4, stop pushing people who aren't fucking over. Don't do what Vince McMahon did for decades. Don't tell me who I should like. Book who I want to see. It's a simple fucking process. Like nobody gives a shit about Jack Perry. The only people who like Jack Perry are the people who are using him as kind of a stand-in against CM Punk. Well, I don't like CM Punk, so Jack Perry really speaks to me. If you don't like CM Punk, we need to have a conversation. Like you can not enjoy him as much as others. It's a subjective thing. But if you have like some type of visceral, violent hatred towards the man, you need to not be a fan of pro wrestling because you make us all look bad. But like that's the only people who like Jack Perry. As much as I love Mercedes Monet, and as much as I really was excited to see her join AEW, they're paying her a lot of money allegedly to be
It, it,
boring.
it goes to your earlier point about that the kind of ass kissing thing we were talking about Jade and people like because I think a lot of people thought she was just kind of going to go there for a little bit and maybe hurry up and go back to WWE. But I'm like, she's getting paid out the wazoo, maybe more than she should.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be mad at people getting their money. But with all the issues she, had, may or may not have WWE, from what we know, she clearly hasn't heard the word no from the second she stepped in that company.
No.
And it doesn't look like she's ever gonna. So why would she go back?
She dances like a person who has been told her entire life she dances very well. But in actuality, she does not.
Yeah, she dances like that girl in the club where everybody keep telling got a fatty and she don't.
That might make sense to someone. It was not me.
Yeah, the ass. Like girl, like your ass is huge. It's like, who you talking to? Her? No, no, like stop lying to your cousin, dog.
Yeah, stop lying to your cousin because it's weird. So, and you don't need to even fire these people. If you want to keep Jack Perry around because he represents some type of momentary win over the evil CM Punk, fine. Put him on the opening of Rampage or Collision. Put him on a dark match Ring of Honor. Don't put him in the semi-main of a pay-per-view. What are you doing, Tony? This also doubles back to the idea, and this is like a big to-do. This goes hand in hand with what we're going to be talking about next. It goes hand in hand with so many things. Stop taking digs at the WWE. It made sense when they weren't the toast of the town because it looked like you were fighting up, going after a rapist like Vince McMahon, going after a dude who has alleged rapist, who has a lot of things going against him, who has never been a good person, who has lied, stolen, destroyed, and humiliated people for fun. Until stuff comes out about Triple H, and it will. You just seem jealous,
Yeah.
and it's unbecoming. When CM Punk got fired, it should have been the end, right? That should have all it's been. It should have been the end of the conversation. Should have been the end of the story. Tony Khan shouldn't have even made a public announcement. He should have just posted quietly on the website. Uh, AEW and CM Punk have come to a release of his contract. It was mutual, and we believe that the departure will be beneficial for both parties. We look forward to seeing what he does in the future, and we wish him best of luck on his future endeavors. That's all it had to be. And you never again had a comment about anything. Hey, we heard there was a fight. Things happen. We're not going to talk about it. It's not important. Instead, Tony Khan's like, I never felt more threatened in my life. I thought my life was in jeopardy. Do you know how many times in a single day doing private security I had interactions like Tony Khan had with CM Punk? They were like every 9 minutes. And listen, I'm not saying Tony Khan was wrong to fire him. I'm saying he was stupid to fire him because he's a draw and you just send him to your competitor. But also, and this is very important to hear, it made Tony Khan look weak. And in an industry all about image and optics, you can't afford to look weak. And then you showed the tape. Before you could have been like, he was a violent animal and he came at me with an unhinged personality of a rabid Wolverine. Instead, all he did was flinch at you and you jump back like a bitch. Doesn't look good. Shouldn't have done it. It was a cheap dig that did not work and hurt your image. It's bad. Bad. Bad.
And and
Leroy Brown.
and how much did his lack of leadership lead to that? Because if Punk respected him, he would have never did that.
Yeah,
But by that
absolutely.
time, he had lost so much respect for him, whether it be how he kept his lack of how he handled things, on top of the non-communication, which we know because Punk said it. Like by at that time, he didn't care. Like you was just you might have been low on a totem pole to him and Jack in that regard. So it's like you helped with that.
They have Jay Lethal on the roster. They have Jay Lethal on the roster.
And Timu Kali.
Yeah. Yeah. What the like are we just wasting money? Like what are we doing here? All right. This one's gonna be controversial, but it absolutely needs to happen. The company needs to move away from certain wrestlers. they need to permanently move on from wrestlers that have a negative reputation that may bring down the reputation of the brand, may hurt future sales, may hurt the ability to sign future talents. Matt and Nick Jackson are among those. They are two of the most awful individuals in wrestling right now. Now, maybe they're not bad people, right? Like maybe they're not, but the optics aren't in their favor. Marcus, do you think it's time for the Young Bucks to call today and be sent off into retirement or WWE?
I think it would. I wouldn't mind them easing, like doing a ease retirement away from the ring, and then also they could eventually, because they are, very a prominent figure in the wrestling industry. So um, you want to do a ceremony for them later when in terms of hanging the boots up, but I think they did definitely need to ease off in terms of being wrestlers on the show, and they need to push of tag teams. Like if they're not gonna be completely gonna push them behind the scenes so they can at least focus on maybe elevating the tag division specifically as their job to elevate tag teams like Private Party, other teams of that nature. Use FTR to elevate young tag teams like that because them having the titles means nothing at this point. You're just spamming your resume. It don't mean nothing. So if you can't get them completely out, at least have them do something to where their legacy uh, can help somebody else.
Here's the thing, and this is maybe where we're going to disagree. I don't see how the Young Bucks in any way, shape, or form can help.
Mm.
I don't think they're a team that have the ability anymore to elevate anyone. They're old. Don't let the young in their name fool you. Matt's like 40. Let me pull up the page. Matt will be 40 this March. Nick will be 36 this coming July. They wrestle like it too. They're not in the same shape they used to be. Now that's
Mm.
not necessarily like some type of like, oh my god, they're fat. They're old and they've beaten their bodies to shit. Of course they're not. That's not some type of like dunk on them. Like, oh my god, look at Bobby Fish at 45. He still looks fantastic. Ugh. Like, did you see that girl who was like trying to dunk on Bobby Fish? Like, this is Bobby Fish in 2024. Listen, Bobby Fish has the intelligence of a dead fish, right? He
Oh
has the
wow.
intelligence of the Young Bucks. But for the dude's age, he's in phenomenal shape. And for the fact that Matt and Nick Jackson have basically destroyed their bodies for the last 20 years, they look good. They are not still elite wrestlers, though. No matter what they say, no matter what anyone wants to say,
Yeah,
they're not elite wrestlers anymore.
uh,
They are not the top tag team, and they don't need to be. More than that, haven't they been booking the tag team division?
I don't know.
Like I don't trust them anymore, and I don't know why I would want them involved in this anymore because they're not the same wrestlers anymore. They don't have the same marketability anymore, and they don't have the same image with the wrestling fandom. Like they're executive vice presidents, and they started a fight with talent. I would have fired them that night. It's not that CM Punk and A Steel fought too. That's not the point. Their management. And they went storming into a locker room looking for a fight. Like that is stupid. So yeah, I'd fire them. I'd fire them instantly. If I could get out of the contract with them, I'd do it because like what are they gonna do? Go wrestle in NXT, go have fun. But I would absolutely end the tenure of the Young Bucks in AEW because their time in the company no longer has any real historical value because all it is now is a representation and a reflection of the company's overall failures in the last 2.5 years. It may be a scapegoat, no pun intended to Jack Perry, but the truth of the matter is that their image, it's fucking done. They'll never rehab their image. And if they can't rehab their image, what's the point of keeping them? They're not even the best tag team on the roster anymore. It's not like, well, the Young Bucks will always give you the best tag match. They won't. They're old, they're slow, and they're being outpaced. It's okay to say goodbye to them. If they were in better standing with better reputations, if they could elevate the needle, draw a house, do whatever, keep them. They can't. This goes into
Right.
another factor. Stop pushing XWW, guys. I know Bobby Lashley just showed up. We like Bobby. I know Shelton Benjamin showed up. We like Shelton. Shelton's 50, Bobby Lashley's 49. There's only so much TV time that matters. And with all due respect to Bobby and to Shelton and to Danielson and to Moxley and to Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black and Claudio Castagnoli, you know that they are who they are. And you know they're not going to give you much more than what they're giving you. Here's a sports reference I think will land with a lot of people. There's currently a conversation in Cleveland revolving around the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson should be done. Who do you replace him with? A lot of people are like, why not Jameis Winston? And I'm screaming because Jameis Winston's 30 and has 8 seasons of consistently bad play. Why would you think he would somehow find another gear? It's not like with Joe Flacco where he won a Super Bowl. Jameis Winston's never played in the playoffs. Why would you think he'd turn your team into a Super Bowl contender? You know what his ceiling is. We know what Claudio Castagnoli's ceiling is. He is not a headliner. He's not a main eventer. He's not a draw. You can sit here and say, but he's airplane. He speaks 7 languages. He's built like a brick shit house. AEW needs main eventers. AEW needs draws. AEW needs people who will set the precedent for what AEW is as a brand. That is not about in-ring prowess. It's about brand recognition. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, fucking Big Boss Man, for Christ's sakes. Ultimate Warrior. Those were the stars of the late 80s. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. Stars of the mid-90s. Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know Stone Cold Steve Austin was a shit wrestler when he headlined, right? Granted, that's because of his broken neck. But still, sucked in the ring. Same fucking match. Punch, 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 kick, kick, kick. Lou Thez press. Punch, punch, punch. Elbow, elbow, elbow dance. Drop. Stunner, stunner, win. Brawl on the outside. Same fucking format. Goddamn. All the fucking time. Drew more money in 3 years than anyone else in wrestling history. Why? Personality. Claudio Castagnoli, what does he not have? Personality. I don't give a shit if he's with the Death Riders. Don't care. Fire him. Fire him. Get him out. You have guys like Darby Allin, an original. You have guys like Orange Cassidy, and maybe calling Darby Allin Orange Cassidy AEW original is kind of like Hulu calling the Orville an original. Well, no, the Orville started on Fox. You picked it up, but it was not. It was bigger on Hulu than it ever was on Fox. Same with Darby Allin, who wrestled in MLW, and Orange Cassidy, who started in Shikara. They had their biggest introduction to the world with AEW, so you can call them an original. I think that's fair. But, like, push them. Bandito has the coolest fucking mask in the history of wrestling. Push him. You know, you got Top Flight. They're phenomenal. Adam Page has gotten a little better, I guess. You got Brian Keith, who's now being called the Bad Apple. Terrible fucking nickname. Push him. Anyone who has the semblance of a personality, so, like, not FTR, the Guns, push them. Like, find people who will actually, like, find people who want to be pushed. Find people who have the personality to be pushed. Like, remember when Juice Robinson was cutting promos like he was goddamn Dusty Rhodes in New Japan? The fuck happened to him?
He just hold up his gun signature and he has a gold tooth. He's a nutbag. So
How fucking crazy it though is Chris, the fact that Kip Sabian has been on this roster the entire fucking time. And he's done absolutely nothing. That's wild to me. But, like, we need to invest in more original wrestlers. It's the one thing I hate that TNA is doing, especially with Nick Nemeth, because, like, I don't think Nick Nemeth is moving the needle. I think more people are interested in JBL's goings-ons than they are about Nick Nemeth. I think that should tell you a lot. So, like, I don't know. Don't
Yeah, but
overly rely on XWB guys in the main event scene.
if they move on to AJ Francis, does that count as an ex-WWE guy?
Kind of, yeah. I wouldn't consider AJ Francis a draw, though.
Yeah, neither will I.
So, like, this was an idea you had, coupled with one I had. Well, space the major shows out. Like they went from all in to all out, or all out into all in. I forget which fucking order. In the span of
Yeah,
what, 2 weeks?
yeah. If that, yeah,
That's absurd. That is absurd. Don't ever do that again. That is almost as bad of a booking decision as TNA putting the title belt on Ethan Carter III the day before Slammiversary, but it would air the Thursday after. One of the all-time worst fucking booking decisions. Just fucking put it on him on the goddamn pay-per-view. Jesus fucking Christ, anyway. Have 4, maybe 5 major shows a year, and then do what TNA does. You have 4 major events a year, and then you have smaller shows in between. Like maybe like you have Powerhouse Hobbs versus Buff Bagwell for just simplicity reasons. Maybe you have Ortiz teaming up with former LAX member Homicide in a match against, I don't know, Chris Harris and James Storm. Just fun little dumb matches that people would want to tune in and see. Nothing where you're putting like Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega in the main event, but like maybe Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega team up against Private Party in a non-title match. That'd be fun. Maybe Peter Avalon takes on Nick Wayne in a loser leaves town match. And literally, then you should have Peter Avalon show up the next week going, I can't believe you made me leave the town early. And that's the whole point of the gimmick. Just a bad pun at the end of a match. Just do something. Pace the shows out and be a little bit less demanding.
yeah. As a quick lateral to that, how are you on the match count?
I'm fine with it. They're both going in extremes. I think 8 to 9 matches is a good number, depending on how long you put into it. AEW likes to go into 11, 13 area, but I'd still rather have more diversity in the match offerings than 5 matches where over half the events is just them talking and or showing ads.
Yeah.
So I clearly enjoy an AEW pay-per-view more than I enjoy a WWE PLE. Here's one that I think we both agree on. Stop bringing in free agents and booking them with all the pomp and circumstance you could get into in their debut and then just letting them fade away in the background. They have, just looking at the women, they have one Camille who is already just done. She's an also ran now because her pairing, who was she paired with? Was it Maria May?
She's Mercedes heavy.
Yeah, she was paired with Mercedes for 5 weeks, and it's already done. They have where are they? They have Taya Valkyrie. Granted, I think Taya's like 40, and she's clearly lost a step. But when she came in, she was a big conquering hero from TNA. She's 41. Still a solid hand despite the age. And then you have easily one of the most technically proficient female wrestlers that arguably there's ever been. Indiana Prazzo. And what is she doing? She's teaming up with Taya Valkyrie in a non-existent women's tag team division. Cool. Cool. But Britt Baker is going to get airtime. Cool. Chris Statlander. The booking on her has been atrocious. Madison Rayne still has a job somehow. I don't get it. Penelope Ford has a job. I don't get it. Mercedes Martinez is still there. I don't know how. That being said, it's not like they have fumbled the ball completely. Julia Hart, very interesting character. You got one of my new favorites in Harley Cameron. She's fantastic. Give her the mic every other week on whatever major show you're booking. I don't think you should do every single week because you get burned out, but every other week, give her a promo because she is amazing. But Harley Cameron wasn't a big signing. She was a smaller acquisition that has blossomed into it. I think of all the women, the only true like A level, major player that they got in free agency that was a big boon upon signing was Tony Storm, and they've executed with her. She's arguably the most fascinating character they've ever created, men or women aside. She was so popular they pushed Mercedes Martinez into the mid card scene because Tony Storm was dwarfing her. But they've not done a great job with major acquisitions. Okada, Jay White, Osprey. These aren't guys who should be on the mid cards of a show. And yet they are. Because of bad booking. So stop doing that. And then, Marcus, finally, last point, which was actually our first point. They need to rebuild the Ring of Honor roster. I watched Ring of Honor this week. An hour and 20 minutes. It's supposed to be a 2-hour show with commercials. An hour and 20 minutes of just the most boring wrestlers I've ever seen. Lack of personality. Not really all that interesting. Top Flight, I think, was on it. That was interesting. I like Top Flight. Isn't, what's her name? Isn't Layla Gray on Top Flight?
Yeah. Where's your boy at in all this, Shane?
Which boy, Shane?
Shane Taylor.
Mm. That's a good
These people
question.
that need to be pushed.
I like Shane. Shane and I went to school together. He's a good dude. The thing though is that I don't know if he's a draw, but also like I think if you're just looking at Ring of Honor,
Yeah.
I think maybe he has a place there. I do. So apparently they don't have the Ring of Honor roster on AEW's website, which I think is odd. Let me see if they have their own roster.
Redhead stepped out on them again. Uh, you mentioned Willow when you were talking about the women, right?
I did not, but I have come to really enjoy Willow. But see, like when I was talking about the women, the issue wasn't so much about the talent that's there because it's there. The issue is that
Yeah.
when they have major talent like they do, they fumble it with their acquisitions and their integration in the roster because they end up becoming just like everyone else. As much as I like Willow, I would not say Willow was a big signing. Willow is more, I think, akin to a homegrown talent than I think
Yeah.
anyone else. At
Yeah.
least of the names that I mentioned. So I'm looking at the Ring of Honor roster now. It does exist. There's the page. And there's a lot of crossovers, like Griff Garrison, Kyle Fletcher. Hey, remember Lady Frost? Layla Hirsch. The Von Erichs. Marina Sharif. Rachel Ellering's still the thing. She had a segment, actually, on Ring of Honor this week. I think Harley Cameron was on it, too. So, like, that's cool. That's cool. There's my boy Shane. They got Trish Adora. I think that's a pretty damn good signing for Ring of Honor. So, like, I don't know. The Ring of Honor roster needs to be overhauled. I like EJ Nduka. He was great in MLW, but I don't think he fits the ROH style. Dustin Rhodes sure as shit doesn't feature the ROH style. Bronson, what are we doing here? Anthony Henry's still on the roster. Why is Angelico still being forced to be a part of this? Billy Starks. This is a weak roster. This is a weak as hell roster. And listen,
Yeah.
I know he died, but Jay Briscoe's not on the roster anymore. I think it's weird that you kept him on there.
Yeah, man, they got Athena, which may be the best thing there. Queen Amanada's being featured more. Uh, in AEW, she's what we want to watch as well. They finally did something with Red Velvet. She's what the women's TV champion. Uh, Yeah, like you said, they need to overhaul. Now they put the damn belt on Jericho again.
And now they might move it to Matt Cardona. And I don't know if that's a lateral move, an improvement. I know it's not great, however you want to define it. It's not good. It's not good. But those are the 10 points that we have that we think can fix Ring of Honor, and not Ring of Honor, AEW. You need to overhaul it. You need to make drastic changes in not only presentation, booking, and you need to maybe, as Tony Khan steps aside and let somebody else handle things, maybe let Bryan Danielson run things. But I do know that they need to have significant, monumental, ground shaking changes that will bring audiences back. And these are 10 ways that I think you can. You need to do all 10. You can't just do one or two, but I think these 10 ways can do that. Marcus, any final thoughts?
Oh, I'd actually like to see that idea come to fruition with putting Daniels in charge. This will allow him time to have all the healing he could possibly have uh, off screen without that physical interaction. And let's be clear, nobody's gonna be iffing and having Daniel Bryan's and Bryan Danielson shaking in his boots. So we know he chased down robbers and whatnot at his own house. So yeah, he's in charge. Trust me, he's not gonna be getting punked out. But yeah, they definitely need to overhaul it. I think they're still doing good business or whatnot. Obviously, we didn't get off into the finances and all that because God knows wrestling Twitter does the numbers game to death enough. But yeah, they definitely need to overhaul, even if they're still getting in big crowds. And I think because what they got coming out, all in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
I think they got coming in. But yeah, you definitely got to overhaul it, man, because a lot of it's caught up to you. Like you said, it was cool when you was punching up at WWE when it felt like they were twirling in those Vince years where everything that was being thrown against the wall wasn't sticking for nothing. But now it feels like AEW's that ex who has nothing better time to do than stalk WWE's social media feeds as they watch them move on with their lives. Yeah,
You're not wrong.
they got
All
to.
right, be sure to check us out at the website at realnerdcorp.com, realnerdcorp.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCRP. You can also find us on our individuals. Marcus, you're on Paradox Kid on Twitter, wait, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show. They talk about mostly international stuff like Gleep, but sometimes they cross over into some other stuff. So check them out there. It's The True Penny Show on Twitter at TRUEPENNYSHOW. They post their shows to their social media, so check them out there. You can find us on our website, once again, at realnordcorp.com, youtube.com/Wrestling Underground, and twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. We're also on my personal accounts at Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHDSPHOTOHUT. We'll be back next Tuesday. I'm not going to tell you what show we're doing. I don't know. I'm not going to make any sweeping declarations. Maybe we'll talk about WWE. Maybe we'll talk about TNA. Maybe there'll be another story that I wanted to cover that has me more excited than something that we come up with 2 weeks in advance. I don't know. Marcus and I will figure it out. And then come next Tuesday, we'll tell you what we're talking about that week. So there's that. So from Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.